Hello everyone, welcome back to our history class. Today we are going to start class 7 history. In this chapter 1, tracing changes to 8,000 years. In this class we will begin with something very interesting, that is maps, as the way of people saw our world and our country hundreds of years ago. Let's start with two maps. The first one is here, second one is this one. The first map was made in 1154 CE by an Arab geographer named Al-Idrisi. Now imagine this, over 850 years ago, the Idrisi tried to draw a map of whole world, and a small part of that map shows the Indian subcontinent. But when we look at it today, it feels a bit strange. Why? Because in his map, South India is shown as the top. So the map is actually upside down according to how we see maps today. The names of the places are written in Arabic, and some famous names are there too. For example, Kannauj. Now, fast forwarding 600 years later, around the 1720, the French cartographer drew another map of India. This looks one much more like map we use today. You can clearly see shape of India. The coastal areas are drawn in details and it feels familiar to our modern eyes. So what does this tell us? It shows that information about the continent changed a lot over time. As travel increased, as sailors and merchants explored more, they collected better knowledge about the land. That's why by 18th century, European maps became much more accurate. And this map was not just for decoration. It was actually used by European sailors and traders during their long sea voyages to India. Now let's think about something else, that is language. Just like our maps changed, even our words changed over a time. For example, the word Hindustan, today we use it mean India, the whole country. But in 13th century, when a Persian chronicle named Miraj Siraj used it, he meant only Punjab, Haryana and lands between Ganga and Yamuna, not all India. Later when Babur came in 16th century, he used Hindustan to describe the land, animal and people of subcontinent, not as a political country like today. So historians must be careful. The same word might have different meanings in different times. The another example is foreigner. Today it means someone who is not an Indian, but in medieval India, foreigner means simply as a stranger, maybe someone from another village or region. A city dweller could call a forest dweller, that is a foreigner. So meaning depend on time and place. The next topic is the historians and their sources. To study all these, historians use sources like coins, inscription, architecture, and especially text. During this period, the number of manuscripts increased a lot. Paper became cheaper, and so people wrote everything, that is the religious texts, letters, royal orders, and record of taxes and teachings of saints. But there was one problem. There was no printing press. So scribes had to copy everything by hand. Imagine copying your friend's homework, something you can't read the handwriting, and make a few changes. The same thing happened with the manuscripts. Over a century, these small mistakes became big differences. That's why historians today compare different versions of the same text to find what the original author might have written. Interesting fact, the historians named Ziauddin Barani wrote his book in 1356 and later made another version in 1358. For hundreds of years, the first version was lost until it was found in 1960s in a big library. Next one is social and political groups. Between 700 and 1750, so many changes took place. That is new technologies and new foods and new communities and new kingdoms. The Persian wheel helped in irrigation and spinning wheel made weaver faster, and farms changed the world forever. New crops came from other countries like potatoes, chilies, corn, tea and coffee, and along with these new ideas and people also arrived. This period also saw great mobility. The people traveled far in search of opportunities. The Rajputs, whose name come from Rajaputra, meaning son of rural, became powerful warriors. They followed a code of bravery and loyalty. Other groups like Maratha, Sikhs, Jats, Ahoms and Kayashats also rose to power during this time. As agriculture expanded, forests were cleared and many forest dwellers became peasants. New jatis or subcastes were formed based on occupation. Each jati made its own rules and often guided by a jati panchayat, that is council of elders. These villages were then ruled by local chieftains, forming small units within large states. Now let's look at how empires and regions evolved. Empires like the Cholas, Tughlaqs and Mughals ruled large part of India. But what matters in these, rulers always wanted to show their powers across India. By 700 CE, the regions like Gauda, Andhra, Kerala, Karnataka and Gujarat had their own languages and cultures. At our time, larger empires united many of them under one rule, creating shared traditions of governance, economy and art. Even after the Mughal Empire declined in 18th century, those regional traditions continued to influence India's culture and politics. Next, old and new religions. Religion also changed a lot in these 1000 years. In Hinduism, new deities were worshipped, temples were built and Brahmanas gained power due to their knowledge of Sanskrit. But there was also a new spiritual idea, that is bhakti, the idea of personal devotion to God without priest or rituals. At the same time, Islam came to India in the 7th century with traders and travelers. Muslims believed in one God, that is Allah, and followed their holy book, that is Quran. Islam had many interpretations, that is Sunni and Shia Muslims, and various schools of law and mysticism. So even region was full of diversity and extent during this time. Finally, let's think about how we divide time in history. In the 19th century, British historians divided Indian history into three parts. That is Hindu period, Muslim period, and British period. But that's not accurate because religion was not the only thing changing, but society, economic, culture were changing too. Modern historians prefer to study time based on social and economic transformations, like the rise of kingdoms, agriculture, trade, and technology. We call this period medieval India, but that doesn't mean it was backward. In fact, there were huge developments like trade expanded, cities grew, and new ideas spread. So when we study this thousands year journey, we must look for both changes and continuities, what transformed and what stayed the same. So that's it for today's class. We learned how India changed from 700 to 1750 CE in maps, in words, in people, in kingdoms, and in ideas. History isn't just about dates, it's about understanding how people lived, thought, and changed over time. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel.